a good time to be a fan of RPGs with Bethesda's recent release of Starfield and the even more recent release of Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty and its 2.0 update. So with this video I thought it'd be fun to compare these two games, though they're quite different from each other. Starfield has starships, while Cyberpunk has cool fast cars. One has Wall-E, while the other has Keanu Reeves. And this video isn't just going to be a bunch of technical comparisons like me saying that Cyberpunk doesn't have a single loading screen while Starfield has one every 10 seconds. That's not what this video is. I wanted to compare things that, at least to some degree, both games had in common. I feel like that makes it for a more entertaining comparison video, and that's what I wanted to make. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to Live from My Basement, where I make new videos like this every single week. So if you feel yourself liking the video, maybe like the video. And if you really enjoy the video, maybe consider subscribing as well. But guys, let's dive into the video. Starting with the AI, the citizens of Starfield will not react at all even if you point a gun directly into their face. You can literally shoot circles around these guys and they absolutely won't flinch. This isn't the case in Cyberpunk, where the person you're holding up will actually put their hands in the air and the people around them will get nervous and walk away. I also tried this experiment with the law enforcement between the two games, and in Starfield the security didn't care once again that I aimed my gun at them or shot circles around them. Whereas in Cyberpunk, the police officers took this as an invitation to throw down. But to swing back in Starfield's favor, in classic Bethesda fashion, once you begin combat with law enforcement, they'll give you an opportunity to surrender where you can either go to jail or pay a fine, which is pretty cool.
UC security always gets you in the end. Remember that.
Whereas in Cyberpunk, the law enforcement show no quarter, and it is a battle to the death until you either die or escape. And speaking of combat, the visuals and sound designs of the weapons between these two games are both fantastic. Though I did notice that when it comes to the muzzle flash of the weapons of Starfield, it's a bit more toned down when compared to the more over-the-top action movie-esque muzzle flashes of the weapons we see in Cyberpunk. This isn't a bad thing, they both look great, but it is something I noticed. And while we're on the topic of weapons, one thing that I love to see in RPGs is whenever you put your weapon away, you can actually see the weapon on your character, which is something that we see with a lot of the characters in Starfield, depending on what outfits they're wearing, instead of them just disappearing and reappearing out of thin air like they do in Cyberpunk. Both games also feature really brutal combat, where Starfield doesn't shy away from any of the blood spatter or bullet decals left on the enemies that you shoot, and it looks pretty gnarly. But Cyberpunk takes this a step further, with your weapons literally blowing enemies apart, and it's pretty brutal. But on a lighter note, in Starfield, when you're playing in third person, you actually cast a shadow and it looks pretty cool, but whenever you switch over to first person, your shadow disappears. While in Cyberpunk, you only play in first person and you can see your shadow the entire time. I also noticed when playing Starfield that when you're standing on uneven terrain, your character's legs will actually bend to match the terrain. While in Cyberpunk, they do have an animation for walking down stairs, but when standing on uneven terrain, your legs will always be straight to the point of leaving one leg suspended in midair. But what makes this even more interesting is that in Starfield in first person, when you look down, you can't see your legs at all. I also noticed in Starfield, when characters are wearing long fabric clothing, that their clothing moves dynamically with what the character's doing. And though this feature is missing in Cyberpunk, it's the style of the clothes of the citizens of Night City that make them look so damn cool. I also, just for fun, wanted to compare what happens whenever you punch a civilian in the face between the two games, and in Starfield, the civilian runs away and sends the whole city into a panic. While in Cyberpunk, the victim usually just runs away and everyone gets a little nervous, but occasionally you'll run into somebody that wants to fight back, and that's pretty awesome. Moving on to some of the water effects between the two games, in Starfield, whenever your character actually walks through the water, it leaves pretty impressive ripple effects. Cyberpunk does this as well, and whenever it comes to actually moving through the water, I think both games actually look great. But when it comes to actually shooting the water, the ripple effects don't look as good in Starfield, and it's actually the same with Cyberpunk, they just look fine. But what's really surprising is whenever you throw an actual explosive into the water, the ripple effect is actually really unimpressive across both games. You'd think you'd throw a bunch of water into the air and there would be a really impressive ripple effect, but across both games, it's just really not that impressive. I also tested the explosives against concrete between both games, and in Starfield, the grenade did leave a small black blast mark on the ground, though it's not very noticeable. Whereas in Cyberpunk, the blast mark is a lot darker and more noticeable, and the center where the detonation actually was is actually glowing hot, which is actually a pretty cool effect. And to top it all off, I wanted to compare the dying animations between the two games, where in Starfield, whenever your character dies, it actually throws the camera into third person, and you see your character go into a crazy ragdoll effect, which could be pretty funny sometimes. While in Cyberpunk, it's a bit more stylistic than Starfield, I'd say. It's pretty cool how you see your cyberware begin to fail right before you die, and then when you actually do die, it just says flatline, and it looks great, even though there's no ragdoll physics or anything like that. It still looks pretty awesome. Well guys, this has been my direct comparison of Starfield versus Cyberpunk 2077 with its 2.0 update. Guys, I had so much fun recording these two games to create this comparison video for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. And I always say whenever I make these comparison videos that I am by no means trying to say that one of these games is way better than the other. I'm currently stuck playing both of these games. I can't stop playing Starfield, and I can't wait to spend more time in Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty. I've been tremendously enjoying both of these games, and I'm by no means have an agenda that's trying to say that Cyberpunk is way better than Starfield, or that Starfield is way better than Cyberpunk and you shouldn't play Cyberpunk because it's bad. Nothing like that. Like I said, I tremendously enjoy both of these games, and I can't wait to spend more time with both of them. And let me know down in the comments, are you still playing Starfield? Are you taking a break to play Phantom Liberty? Did you never play Starfield? Let me know down in the comments, and also let me know what you think of the comparisons I made in this video. Do you think Cyberpunk does certain things better than Starfield, or vice versa? Tell me where I was wrong. Let me know what you guys think, or other comparisons that you guys might have noticed in the comments. Let me know. I enjoy reading those as well. But guys, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, consider liking the video, and if you really enjoyed it and you're not subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. I make new videos like this every single week. So guys, that's all I have for this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.